Thank you all for coming and joining us as we have a special panel during National Apprenticeship Week. National Apprenticeship Week is really a time where we celebrate the importance of apprenticeships, and really we get to highlight how apprenticeships can create a highly skilled, diverse workforce. Apprenticeships nationally and in South Dakota have grown significantly over the last few years. They're becoming more popular because you can get paid while you're trained, you receive a credential, you earn a decent wage, and all without any student loan debt. So what's better than that? You know, that's a really great way for us to tell people about apprenticeship programs. Businesses love apprenticeships because they can hire a new employee, or they can offer their training program to an existing employee and really help develop and hone some of those skills specific to the occupation that they need and their company's culture. Apprenticeships lead to higher retention rates, and they create a talent pipeline for the businesses. So today we are really excited to welcome our panel of apprenticeship sponsors who have developed and implemented apprenticeship programs in partnership with Department of Labor. Our panel is going to talk about some of the benefits to having an apprenticeship program and maybe answer some questions about some of their successes, maybe discuss some of their challenges, and why businesses or job seekers should consider apprenticeships when thinking about workforce. So today we have with us, we have Michelle and maybe Rick. I'm not sure if Rick's on, but they are with Bear Butte Gardens, and they have two programs with Bear Butte Gardens and the Kitchen. And then we also have Steve from Howe Incorporated. And I just wanted to welcome both of you to our panel today. And I don't see your faces yet, but wanted to start off by having each of you introduce yourselves and maybe tell us a little bit about your apprenticeship program, the occupation that it's in, and maybe why you chose apprenticeship for that occupation. And I see Steve. Hey, Steve. Just a side note, this is the first time I've gotten to meet Steve in person. We've had lots of interaction back and forth, and I really enjoy him highly. So I'm excited to have him on this panel today. So Steve, why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit about your program?
Okay, well, we're a plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and fire protection contractor, and the company already had a plumbing program in place for many years, and they brought on HVAC in 2017, and they've had fire protection for several years as well. But my background is I was in railroad business for many years, so my introduction to apprenticeships were there. But it's kind of funny, when I got here, the letter from the state for the Start Today program was sitting on my desk on my first day. So, and I was trying to learn our company as well, but took full advantage of it. I think it's the programs that we have now, we have three of them. We have plumbing, HVAC, and mechatronics, and the mechatronics is just starting up and running this month.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Steve. Michelle, do you want to kind of give us a little intro about your apprenticeship program?
You bet, I can do that. So we, as you said, we actually have two programs here at Bear Butte Gardens. We're located just outside of Sturgis. And one is our diversified farm manager apprenticeship, and then organic farm manager apprenticeship. And then our other one is a commercial kitchen manager apprenticeship. And right now we have a person in the kitchen apprenticeship, but we do not have someone in farm apprenticeship. And that one, we've had two apprentices in that, and both times it's ended up being a little bit more, I think, than no matter how long of an interview we've done and said, you know, what the extreme weather conditions are going to be and all of that kind of thing on a farm. It's been a little more than what they anticipated they were getting into. And so that one's a little more difficult. And so both times that our apprentices have left that position, it's been during the really busy season. And so then I've just taken a little break and tried to finish the busy season. And then, so like right now, I'm revamping and gearing myself up to get that listed again and you know, get a person in place for it. But each time we learn some really great lessons. We do, you know, stay in contact with the people that were in the apprenticeship and keep good communications there, that sort of thing. So then our commercial kitchen one is going very well. We have the second person in that one now, and she is flying through it. It's competency based, and she is knocking off the competencies, and she's excited to actually hire on as our kitchen manager at the end of it. And so that's quite a varied position, and both apprenticeships we have created from scratch because they were not existing apprenticeships. And so that was a challenge, and it was very rewarding at the same time.
I might have you dive a little bit deeper into that, Michelle, too, because just for everybody listening, when she's talking about there wasn't a program that existed, they kind of created something new. But that's what's really unique about apprenticeships is, you know, it doesn't have to fall into a list of occupations that are already existing. You can only choose from these ones if there's a need. And the kitchen and Bear Butte Gardens had a need, and there was something that they could create and kind of start a new occupation. It's just one of those things that, you know, we at Department of Labor can help them with and kind of help them with that technical assistance to get that approved through USDOL, which is really, really cool. So Michelle talked a little bit more about that. You said it's really rewarding. Can you talk a little bit more about, you know, what kind of rewards you see with that new occupation?
Yeah, so actually creating the apprenticeship or just the whole ball of wax with it?
The whole balls of wax with it.
Okay. So what I've learned through the process, both times that we have created these apprenticeships, is that it has made me be much more organized, and it's you know, because my entire life have kind of been an entrepreneur with doing businesses that I've owned and you know, and creating something new programs, that sort of thing. I enjoy doing that a lot, but this like really holds me to the line of, okay, that's great to start a business, but then to actually lay down these competencies and you know, make sure that it's rewarding for the employee, the apprentice as well, and that they are acquiring skills through it that they can, I mean, ideally they stay here with us, but if they go somewhere else, that they can take those skills somewhere else and they will be applicable to another location too. So in creating 2 brand new apprenticeships, we really wanted to make sure that if they don't stay here, that they'll go to another state or another community, and the skills that they've learned through us can apply there as well, you know, anywhere in the nation. And so it's just, like I said, it's very challenging, but then I think it makes me be a better worker myself, because I get you work pretty hard when you're working right alongside your apprentices, and then just making sure that I have the days and the weeks and the months organized and a plan. And I've definitely been learning as we're going. So I'm not there yet. I'm still becoming a better employer all the time. And but I enjoy that. It's challenging in a good way. I like it.
That's a really great point too, because, you know, what do they say? You know, you usually learn best by doing or teaching. So, you know, you saying that you've also increased your skills as an employer and as a sponsor by doing with and helping your apprentice along. I really love that. And, you know, we have, you know, kind of opposite ends of the spectrum here too. Michelle is kind of a smaller business, and it's a smaller, just smaller business. And Steve comes from, Howe, which they probably have quite a few apprentices in their program. They have 3 programs. They've been established for quite a while. Steve, you can talk a little bit about that too, but that's also a little different in where you come from and how you run your program. So Steve, I just kind of wanted to ask you, with that, and the Mechatronics is a new program, but really, can you kind of talk a little bit about how an apprenticeship really helps with training and some of those workforce needs, maybe versus some of the non-apprenticeship occupations or positions that you have? Steve, you are muted.
Sorry about that. Keep forgetting.
No, you're good.
Should have a flashing thing so it really gets your attention. But it's huge with, if you get in the state of South Dakota, plumbing, you have to be licensed. So we have to have, employees have to know how to plumb. Mechatronics and HVAC don't have to be licensed in the state of South Dakota, but we also have a brand that we need to maintain as a company. We have over 80-year-old company, family owned, that we need to maintain a brand, and that brand includes quality and the work done the first time. One of our sayings with apprenticeship program, or everyone, is never pass up something that's wrong or that needs to be fixed. So even if it's not part of the job that you're on, if you see it, fix it. So the key to that, though, is, and I'll kind of piggyback on what Michelle was saying, albeit she's doing it by herself, or she's head neck deep in hers. I'm not so much. I'm in HR and safety, but you have to have committed and passionate people in those trades that want to pass that knowledge on to the next generation, or the trainees coming up through the ranks. The only program, the Mechatronics program, is a 3-year program, and the HVAC and plumbing are 4-year programs. So that's a huge commitment, when go, and we're going all year round now. And then we do all day, or we made some big changes this year. And we are paying apprentices to be in the classroom. We also pay them on the job, of course, and that's a huge deal. And we're paying our instructors quite a bit of money to help with that as well. People want to go home at 5 o'clock. They don't. It's finding that right person that's going to do the, that is passionate enough to put in the time and effort to get the next guy or gal up to speed.
Steve, do you feel like having some of those occupations as a registered apprenticeship, do you feel like that's appealing to some of those passionate people that you're looking for? Do you feel like that's helpful in your search for that right person?
It is. When we outline what when we bring somebody in, is that what you mean when we're hiring? Yeah. Okay. So when we bring somebody in, we talk about the apprenticeship program, eyes light up, because we also, the other thing that we added this year is we found, and I don't know what kind of tools Michelle has to provide her employees, but we've decided to buy employees tools. So when a person comes on as a new apprentice, they get $500 worth of tools, and they're tools, high-end tools, Milwaukee tools. Because before, we'd say, here's a tool list, go get them. They go to Kmart or whatever and get cheap stuff, and then they break, or whatever. But there's a commitment. That's showing a commitment on our side as well. This whole training program shows, and Michelle can attest to this too. Your company is putting in the effort, time, effort, and money to get that new employee an education that he or she would never even gotten. Well, they could get it if they want to spend $20,000 and in tuition, and that doesn't guarantee a job outside of that. This, as long as you're a good employee, you come to work and you learn and you work hard, you will have work, you will make work available for those employees that are trained.
That's great. Thanks for that answer. So now, Michelle, you guys your apprenticeship program is new, a new occupation. It's new to you in your business. Can you kind of talk about maybe how you talked a little bit about some of those challenges, but can you talk a little bit about how maybe that registered apprenticeship, some of those challenges you had beforehand, and maybe how this has improved those a little bit or impacted those challenges?
Okay, let me see if I understand what you're saying here. So,
has developing the registered apprenticeship, has it helped some of your training and workforce needs with the kitchen and with Fairview Gardens?
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think so, because the fact that we are committed to going through that whole realm of the apprenticeship, competencies and trainings and everything, that I think that says something to the potential employee, the potential apprentice, that we've sat down, we've thought through this, we have this list, and when we list it as an opening that we're taking applications, we try to put so much, like a lot of information out there so that they see everything that they're going to be gaining through the apprenticeship and all the work they're going to be doing too. And so I think that helps the apprentice coming into it know that they're serious about this. They're not just gonna, I'm not just gonna be there for a couple weeks or for a season and then they'll be kicking me out, because we're a seasonal business. We're especially our farm one is anyways. It's basically the majority of what we do is from March until now, and then things kind of quiet down through the winter. But with the apprenticeship, as we go, we're making that more of a year-round thing, adding more things into the mix so that they have that occupation throughout the winter months as well. And I don't know if I'm answering your question adequately here, but I think having I'm just going to stop there.
No, it was perfect, because
Okay.
it really hones in on the benefits to that apprentice and those employees when they see a company or a business really dedicating time to them and their training. And that's kind of what really impacts your business, when you have someone who is passionate and they feel the dedication from their company. It really helps with that retention. So I know you kind of talked a little about some retention challenges, but with a smaller business, sometimes that happens. But sounds like you're doing a really great job, and it's really exciting to see your apprenticeship grow to what it has become. Michelle, maybe I'll just start with you on this one, but what made you want to get involved with an apprenticeship with your company? What kind of made you want to do that?
So we started with the organic farm manager one, and I really felt that is something that there's a lot of people, especially young people, that are wanting to kind of get back to the basics again, and they're maybe stepping out of corporate positions, and they might have their awesome college degree, but they've decided, I don't want to be sitting in an office, and then of course COVID has put that over the top then too, I think. And so they're wanting to grow their own food and raise their family on the land and that sort of thing. And we just felt that, all the little bits and pieces of education that we've done along the way, and let people come out and help us do things, or learn how to butcher a chicken or do fencing, that sort of thing that they wanted to learn how to do. It's something you just have to dive into. It's like, the farm one especially, it's like in the greenhouses and the gardens, You can read and read and read all you want, but you just have to dive into it and do it. But if you're doing it on your own dime all the time, and as you're, maybe young or on a limited budget, that's very difficult. And so we really wanted the apprenticeship program was just very attractive to us because we could put together all these little bits and pieces of things we're doing all the time anyway, but then teach them to someone in a somewhat organized manner as a year progresses, that this is why you do this in January, but then this is why you do this in August, and just kind of put that plan together so that if they want to go on and, like I said, work for another farm or create their own farm, set up their own farm, then they've got some really good basics to do that with, instead of just maybe having to drop a lot of money into land and infrastructure and then decide, this is not what we thought it was going to be. So for that one specifically, the apprenticeship program, I think, is just awesome because they're making a little money while they're going, but then they're also learning some really great skills, kind of on our expense to do that. So.
And I really like how you put that because there's things that you can learn through textbook or reading, like you said, but getting that hands-on component with somebody who understands the why behind it. You might read like, this is what we do, this is how we do it, but then saying, this is why we do this in January, or this is why we do this specific thing, so they can get that understanding and that theory behind what they're doing. They're just going to learn that so much more adequately. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for hitting in on that. Steve, maybe, same question. You had Howe had apprenticeship programs before, but kind of what made you want to get involved and what made Howe kind of want to jump into the mechatronics, or maybe talk about how that got started, maybe.
Well, quite frankly, both the HVAC and the mechatronics was a result of the Start Today program through the state of South Dakota. So, like I was saying earlier, that is the flyer for the Start Today program was on my desk when I started. So I became an appendage to Rebecca Long, trying to find out how to do all this stuff, and just taking advantage of all the state resources. But I think the reason that we do it, we wanted to do it, is because it forces you to, just like Michelle was saying earlier, it forces you to write down what you want out of your employees and how to get your work done, and done correctly, and done in a manner where you're going to make money, because we are in business to make money. And then the mechatronics one, it was kind of a fluke, because not a fluke. It was an opportunity to grow our service department. We have a service department that does commercial HVAC and plumbing, and then residential HVAC and plumbing. But the commercial HVAC, as time progresses, as we get into more technology year over year, all of our equipment, your furnace at home, your air conditioning at home, and businesses go more high tech. And we don't necessarily have that opportunity to be able to just teach that, unless you have somebody tagging along with you. We have a lot of really smart people in the department, but not everybody is really good at the high tech stuff. So the mechatronics is forcing us to, not forcing, it's helping us stay current and advanced in technology in our industry. So the other side of that is we didn't know what we didn't know, and there's, once again, Rebecca Long, I was an appendage to her, and she helped me with a lot of stuff on that. And I think Michelle said that they were competency based, and we made this mechatronics program competency based as well. So looking forward to getting that thing kicked off. It's been difficult just trying to get apprentices for this up and running. And this is just a side note. Before you start anything like this, you need to make sure you got people that are going to support you in getting it done if you're not going to do it yourself.
That's a good point. So you said it's just recently in the last month kind of kicked off, right?
Yes. Well, and the other thing is that the Start Today program made some changes because of the Fed forcing you guys to do some other things to for other requirements. So trying to get some folks lined up to get that, and that was probably a hindrance to the whole thing because just my understanding of what the process is going to be and how we're going to get people through it. But once I got it figured out, it was pretty easy to, with your help and
sure.
But once we got people through that, then it's just a matter of, it's a matter of finding training material, and then somebody that's going to help it. We have a couple folks that went through the mechatronics program at Southeast Tech, so they're going to help teach our program, and that's another selling point is, okay, we can teach you in 3 years what that you're not going to have to spend whatever that is, $16,000, $20,000 for tuition.
Mm-hmm. And you also kind of, you took a need that you knew your industry was having with the mechatronics, and you knew kind of building this apprenticeship program would be appealing to some of those people who were good at some of that technology stuff. So,
yeah. And our customers, our customer demand, just because of the technology that's out there that, the manufacturers of this equipment, the, air flow equipment, to heat and cool large buildings. We have a pretty big packing plant here, Smithfield, and they require a lot of energy or a lot of different equipment to keep their business going, whether cool in the office or warm in the office or in their plant. So, and that the things that are making that airflow happen is not simple electronic switches anymore. It's a little microchip that's making all that happen, and somebody that's repairing that has to understand how that works. It ain't gonna be me. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I was thinking, I'm glad that's not me.
Yeah. No, I'd be fired, Dave.
Oh, thanks. So, both of these programs that both of you are talking about are fairly new, recently developed, kind of just getting off the ground. Can you, maybe Michelle, I'll throw this one to you. Is there specific resources that you needed to utilize in order to kind of create and build your program? And Steve, I'll throw that one to you, and Michelle's done. So maybe what resources did you use for your program?
Yeah, and we're still figuring some of that out. So for the kitchen manager apprenticeship, we want that position to be as well-rounded as possible, so that not only can she run our unique kitchen that's here, which is out on a farm, alongside a farm stand. So that's not really your normal kitchen, but we want her to be able to, if she chooses to go somewhere else, be able to take the things she's learned here into those other kitchens too. So we bring in like chefs and cooks from other places and have them teach her various things. Maybe it's specifically an item to cook, like she's recently learned how to do, danishes and croissants and that sort of thing. So nice pastries, or just she was the sidekick we did a farm to table event out here, our first one this last year. And so we brought in a chef to cook the meal for that. But then Kiara, our apprentice, was his sous chef kind of, and worked right alongside with him with creating the menu for it, and then helping make the foods and serve the foods out to the attendees. And ultimately, we actually let her sit down and eat the food too. So she got to get that side of it that lots of times the chef doesn't get to do. But then also just help plan the whole event. So she's getting a lot of stuff there in the apprenticeship. So we reach out to the local, specialists in those areas, but then we also go through you guys' the Department of Labor a lot, just sometimes just for ideas. I've definitely bent Aubrey's and Erin's ears a lot about, how do I, if there aren't, like last year was COVID, so trying to get her into a cooking class somewhere just to learn some things was very difficult, locally. And so they said, well, utilize YouTube and online stuff and, get her signed up that way, because you just got to make do with what's available right now. Well, then that opens a whole world of things, when you kind of think outside that we got to do things local box, then it's like, oh yeah, YouTube, that's quite a diverse opportunity there for some trainings and such. And and we sign her up for all the various conferences as our farm manager. Also, we encourage them to go to an organic conference that's in Wisconsin and that sort of thing too. So we have our local support system, which is very strong. And then we have, just the online opportunities there's a plethora of that now that you can do. And then your standard books and, that sort of thing too. So we have a big variety of places that we reach out to try to, and we take in ideas from her. Right now she's doing a community education online class about cooking to just kind of come up with some new recipes and such to try out in the kitchen. And so it's pretty unlimited once you think outside the box of what you can offer to them.
Thank you for saying that, because that question was really fun for you, because I know, and when you guys created your program, that you had to get a little creative in some of that. And I know that you've reached out to Aubrey and that it's been some of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a textbook or a specific class. They have to utilize. It can be multiple different things, and the programs can be pretty flexible in what you use to best teach your apprentice. And that's why I'm glad you kind of talked a little bit about that, Michelle, because you've had some really cool things that you've utilized as resources. So thank you for sharing all of those.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Okay, Steve.
So to start with when we were putting the program together, I worked with Rebecca. You guys are really good about, getting another set of eyes or ears on the problem or the challenge. So Rebecca helped us find some resources, like from a textbook standpoint. Okay, so we were able to find that, and then lab experiments or lab, how you call them experiments because it's a lab, but they're not real. They go in and test different things, but when we meet every week, and we have for about the last 12 weeks about putting the program together, what it's going to look like, who's going to teach it, and then started bouncing ideas off of each other. We have a lot of smart people in this organization, and on the service side where they're going to take advantage of the mechatronics. But it was fun to watch those guys, the field guys and the office guys, because we got probably 70 years worth of experience sitting there. Just all of a sudden, the light went on, and they started talking about all these different things that they could build. And one guy was talking about this panel that would, if you put the wire in the wrong spot, a red light would go off, or just hand-on touching, immediate gratification type stuff, or learning event for a apprentice that, they're going to have some sort of idea about electricity and stuff like that, but we'll teach them what they don't know. But I don't know what I don't know going forward until we get December. I don't know, there's a Wednesday, the first of December in Wednesday, I think. Anyway, that's going to be our first class day. So I will be able to tell you more after that. I don't know yet.
That's exciting. Sounds like you guys are creative and you're innovative in your ideas for what you can use. So I've kind of heard a few maybe different challenges that you both have had. Maybe talk about some successes that you've seen or that you've been able to have with starting your programs. Steve, why don't you start this one?
Well, throughout the program, the two that are up and running for the plumbing and the HVAC, it's kind of interesting just watching, by the third year, leadership starts to come out of people, because they've got a good grasp of what's going on, and we're allowing some of those folks in the third year of the program are running work for us, plumbing jobs, maybe smaller, but they also have another apprentice working with them, just because they grasp it faster. I mean, over time, everybody's going to get it, and you guys know as well as I do that, you're going to have people that are go-getters. You're going to have people that are a little, middle of the road that, yeah, I'll do some of it, but I like coming to work and, going home and not having to worry about work. And then you're going to have other folks that they're there every day and they're going to get the job done, but they're not going to go any further than that. But so that's been interesting for me growing people out of those programs. Those are successes. I think that we've learned a lot in the last year, and especially during this, what I've been talking about, some of the things that we're doing now, paying apprentices to go in the classroom. We never did that before. Buying the tools. Those are responses to the market environment. We have to be able to stay ahead of the game on everything. But I think, and I don't know how Michelle, well, if you're in the industry she's in, it's got to be just as difficult to find the right fit that it is for the rest of us. But I think the thing that we're looking at now that we're hoping is going to be a success is getting in classrooms, 6th grade on up, because by the time they're in high school, parents have already brainwashed them that they have to go to college.
I'm going to let Michelle answer, but you're leading me into my next question, Steve. Thanks. Michelle, will you go ahead and touch on some of your successes you've seen with your program?
Okay. Yeah, I think the things that jump to my mind first are maybe just kind of broadening the horizons of those apprentices, that no matter how long or how short that they've been with us, they are introduced to new ideas, new concepts, new ways of doing things that they hadn't thought about before. And that's probably pretty much any job can do that. But I feel like, even if they're with us for just a few short months, maybe that they saw, oh, well, they do this particular thing a little bit differently, say in the gardens or the greenhouses. Michelle uses this system for irrigating crops, or plants these things inside the greenhouse versus outside. That's maybe a little different than what they've seen somewhere before. Same thing with the kitchen, and also along with that, creating like this network of people and businesses for them outside of us and for us also. I mean, honestly, because we have strengthened up our network of other producers and businesses and such because of the apprenticeships. We needed to reach out to them to help train our apprentice. But then, so we have firmed that up, those relationships a little bit. And then also the apprentice themselves, if they stay here or they leave here, they've got those connections then to take with them. And I think that's huge for somebody that's maybe still kind of trying to figure out what they want to do, or where they want to work, to have all of these connections. We send our apprentices out to, especially our farm one, we send to other farms to work for a day or two. We pay them to go work for another farm so that they can learn. Like, we don't do row cropping, and we don't do, cereal grains and that kind of thing of farming, but we think that that's a valuable thing for them to see a little bit. And so we send them over to a neighboring farm to learn how they do it and help them out for a day or two. And that's good for all of us. I mean, that makes those farms say, oh yeah, this is cool. I got to meet this young person, and I didn't have to pay them to help me for a day, but they give them their knowledge. And then the apprentice also gets to see hands-on what they're doing. Like, sometimes I kind of wish that I was doing the apprenticeship so that I could go work for all these places and have somebody like this steady paycheck that's paying me to go try out all these different things. And it's a success all the way around, I think, for people that aren't sure what an apprenticeship is. Well, then they get to know Kiara or whomever we have in the farm, and they go, oh, okay, now I understand it. It's different than an internship. Everybody thinks it's the same thing. It's different from that, and it's different than just a regular employee too. So I think that's a success all the way around.
Yeah, I love that. And do you find that some of those neighboring farms that you partner with, I mean, was that an easy partnership? Were they pretty receptive to that? That with you?
I mean, we kind of handpicked, ones that we knew were also willing to spend some time to educate and to, it's not, when you send somebody just kind of randomly to a new farm on corn picking day or something, they're not going to be fast at it. They're not going to be efficient with it. And so we kind of handpicked, the farms that owners, I guess, of farms that we knew that's important to them to teach somebody how to do something that's kind of maybe an essentially easy skill, but also ultimately to make that connection with where your food comes from. That's both of our apprenticeships. That's kind of a huge piece of it, is know where your food comes from. And so, and we have a good network of farms that are willing to do that. But yeah, we've run into a couple places that have said, we think it's great what you're doing. We appreciate it, but we don't really necessarily have the time to have somebody come in. And so that's okay. That's all right.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So both of you kind of touched on this. I wanted to lead into, this question. We have a lot of people on this panel today listening in that are in workforce development, working with Department of Labor, maybe talking to businesses about benefits and some of the positive aspects to apprenticeships. So maybe just touch on what you've seen as some, common misconceptions that people have about apprenticeships, and maybe how can we combat some of these to communicate what apprenticeships are more effectively with people. Steve, do you want to start on this one?
Yeah, for us, it's a misconception of what the industry is. When you think of a plumber, at times, it's pardon the picture in mind that's going to be in your mind, but you got a big guy under your sink with a butt crack sitting right there, and that's what. When we're talking to folks, that's what they think of. What we're doing really is high tech. We are providing clean water, and we're providing a waste removal system. So, and it's usually in industrial or large complexes, and that image that they see or think of, we're working with 3D modeling Technology, the apprentices are working. One of the things that we look for is somebody that, one of our questions is, are you a gamer? Because a lot of our equipment, like digging equipment and backhoe stuff, is all joystick. So if you're really good at gaming, we want you, because you're going to pick up on how to dig a hole for us pretty quickly. So the other misconceptions are, it's been drilled into people's heads for 50, 60 years that you have to go to college to be able to make a lot of money, to have a satisfying career. And that's just not the case. We have people that are making over $100,000 a year here. Now, you work your way up just like anything else, but you wear blue jeans all the time, and which right now I really envy. But I think that it depends on the farming too. I bet Michelle probably thinks the same thing. I mean, these are not from the outside glamorous jobs, but they are necessary, and there's money to be made, and they're high tech for us anyway. They're high tech, and you make a difference in people's lives, whether it's commercial or residential.
Thank you, Steve. Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit about some that you've seen?
The misconceptions. Yeah, like I think probably the main one I hear when I start explaining to someone that we have apprentices and apprenticeship programs is that they think that term is interchangeable with internship, and that it's a non-paid position. And so then we have that discussion, right off that no, let's back up here and talk about what the differences are, and that our apprentices do get paid from day one and all the way through, and that it's not a school-related internship too. And as Steve kind of mentioned there, that they assume that it's, they're a college student or something. And it's like, no, I mean, they could be, but no, they don't have to be. They don't have to. I mean, they just need to be a certain age and willing to work. And I think that's the main ones we come across. I mean, just, in our line of work with farming and gardening and such, there's always kind of the misconception of oh, it's I don't know, whatever, dirty job. It's a, or an uneducated job or something like that. And I don't know. I mean, Rick and I are both pretty highly educated. And so I think within our community, they've seen us do all the other things. And then they're like, and why did you want to go set up gardens and greenhouses when you could stay clean all the time if you wanted to? So, which answers the question for itself, I think, for me. But yeah, that's the main one, is people just don't understand what an apprenticeship is. And that's, both potential employees as well as employers. They just don't understand what it means.
Thank you for that, Michelle. And I think the more that, we talk about it and educate people, the better we'll be. And I know that one of the things that I feel like is one of the biggest misconceptions since I've been in this role is that apprenticeships are for those who maybe won't make it to college or don't have the, the scores or the tests, the ACT scores to be able to go to college. That's one of the misconceptions I feel like I hear, because even in South Dakota, we have some apprentices who have a bachelor's degree and then they go into an apprenticeship. So really, apprenticeship can be for anybody, any skill set, any educational background, any of those demographics. That's one of the things that I always try to hit home to people, is that really it's for anybody who likes hands-on things, or even other types of occupations. It can really be for any level. So one question, we have a few minutes left. If you guys have questions for Steve or Michelle, please throw them into the chat so we can get those answered. But if there are businesses out there or companies wanting to start an apprenticeship program, maybe they're starting from square one, what's one piece of practical advice that you would give someone who's starting a program? And maybe we'll start with Steve.
Ask a lot of questions. And then within your company, I mean, if it's make sure you have other folks that are just as passionate as you are about getting those up and running.
Perfect, thank you. Michelle, what would you tell others?
Yeah, I have to agree with Steve on both of those, especially the have your whole deck of people that are going to partner with you strongly, because you just need a lot of people to support the program and to help you with ideas, or help you with, if you just need a day or two here and there, that they step in and help with a training or whatever it may be. It's a very, it's as you always hear, sometimes it's easier to just do the job yourself than to teach someone else how to do the job. and I, with the gardens in the greenhouse, that's all the time. I mean, I feel that way all the time, but the end goal is that you have this other person then, or persons ultimately, that will be helping you and bringing in their ideas too, and sharing, opening up your eyes to some new ways of doing some things. The kitchen one, I've just learned a whole lot from that one, because I don't choose to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So I have other people that are really helping to train Kiara, and then I step in and attend, those sessions with her, so that I can learn things right alongside of her too. So I'm her mentor, but then I'm leaning heavily on other people to strongly mentor her better than I can in that realm.
It's a great piece of advice, Michelle. Thank you. And I really like how both of you kind of touched on, it's not always black and white. There's not always like one answer to things. Sometimes we have to ask questions and kind of come up with different solutions to make it work. And that's the beauty of apprenticeships, is that they're really designed and built for each business and their culture and their occupations, and we can really tailor it to meet your needs, which is one of my favorite parts of the apprenticeship programs. But Aubrey might chime in and let us know if we have anything in the chat, which I don't know if there's any questions in there, but then we might ask for some final thoughts from Steve and Michelle if they have any.
We currently do not have any questions on the chat, so if anybody wants that last chance to throw anything out there, if you have some burning questions for these two, they both have really great programs. They're very involved. I did throw in the chat a link to our Start Today SD website with some of the apprenticeship spotlight videos and stories for both businesses and from the apprentice perspective. There are some from both 2020 and 2021 on there, so please go check those out. We really want to celebrate those apprentices in those roles and being successful for themselves and for these businesses. So I really want to thank both of our panelists for hopping on here and being willing to share their story and their wisdom with the state of how they came up with these programs and these processes. And we just really appreciate your guys' partnership and being willing to be open with all of this information. So thank you both so much for that.
I was going to also tell you both thank you, because really this important piece is the partnership, and it takes us all working together to make this work, and you guys have been great partners, and we're really proud of what you've been able to create and develop, and we're happy that we were a part of it. So thank you for sharing all of that today.
Before you both go, we had one last minute submission. It was Aaron Morlak. I'm sure no one is surprised. But his question is actually very relevant to a lot of the people that we have on here. Is when we here at DLR talk about apprenticeships to our participants, the people that we are serving, what wisdom do you have for us so that we can try and promote the opportunity of apprenticeships to them? What would really sell it for them, do you think?
I think you guys are a great resource. I mean, I lean heavily on Rebecca, and I know I do with Tara too, with just the monthly or the quarterly things that we do, and Aubrey, you're gonna get a taste of it here pretty soon. But I think, I mean, you guys are a great resource, and I think you gotta show people what you can bring to the table. After having a conversation about the interest of apprentice from their business, because you're right, Tara. I mean, it's a intimate thing for that organization, right? But you guys are a great resource because you have tons of resources that that basically at your hand, and it's just part of your business model that just a everyday Joe doesn't really have that. I mean, it would take me months to do the research that was at for our HVAC and mechatronics that really seemed like off the top of Rebecca's head, and it's just like, this is just the way I walk and talk, So I think you guys gotta sell that to the people that you interact with.
Michelle, do you have any words of wisdom to share?
Well, yeah, I definitely support that it should be the other way around. Maybe is how can we talk about the Department of Labor to support what you guys are doing more, because I honestly, every time I hear the part of the list of all the programs that Department of Labor has, it just surprises me. Every time I've forgotten about half of the list. And it's like, oh yeah, I should be reaching out to them more for all these other things. But so let's see, words of wisdom about how to promote it. I think I feel like it's that for the applicant or the employee, it's really maybe tell them that they're building up this relationship with this company that isn't going to go away. I mean, an apprenticeship, you're really dedicated to that. And ours is they're both short apprenticeships, I think. And I feel like, they're kind of like children of ours that that we're trying to raise and train, and nurture them to maybe go out in the world and do something totally different. And we need to be okay with that. And so if it's a company that has a longer apprenticeship, some of them are 4 years long or 3 years long, some of those. I mean, that's that company is willing to be dedicated to that person as long as they're continuing on and striving to learn more and do better. That company is dedicated to them, and they're not just gonna drop them seasonally or whatever goes up and down with the economy. So I think that should be a huge selling point, I think. And just that, yeah, that you're part of that company family, basically, through an apprenticeship.
I really love that. I love that relationship aspect. I think that's an excellent point of what apprenticeships, a real benefit of them is that family environment. I love that. We don't have any further questions. Again, thank you two so much for joining us and sharing with us. We really, really appreciate it. And happy National Apprenticeship Week to both of you for your programs. And everybody, I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks to all of you. We couldn't do it without all of you, that's for sure. Takes a community.
Sure does.